So when you begin your super performance morning routine, you have to think to yourself like you're a professional baseball player that maybe taps the bat 3 times before he hits the mound, puts his cleat on a certain way, maybe puts his uniform on a certain way, uses a certain razor. This isn't superstition in a sense. They are anchoring themselves to a performance state. They are getting ready to experience heightened focus, increased adrenaline and cortisol, and so on in order to be able to perform their discipline. I highly recommend anyone who's a performance active trader like myself to do the following routine before the market opens. Although, of course, today I gave a signal early in the morning and violated that, but that's okay. You will violate your rules. I was already pretty much in a flow state anyway when I let everyone know to buy in the middle of the night if it came back down to that zone, which worked really well over the weekend if you continue to buy there as well. Now, we also know the larger time frame bias, despite the short term going sideways to down right now, is up because the big picture and the intermediate term are aligned. So we can take longs. But going back to the performance routine, this is way more important, right? We have to be in a heightened state, and we have to be emotionally ready to perform. Because if we're not in an emotional state that's ready to perform, then we are going to make mistakes again and again, which can happen. Right? So your only job really is to maintain a performance discipline. I have to stop this for a second. Sorry. I'll pick my little guy up here to make him stop. Not a scruff, but there he goes. Now you stopped, okay? You don't need to do that. Good boy. Let's go. So, just going back onto this routine that we need to do before we start to scan, do our process, before we trade, before we write our plan, before we do anything with the screens, is we have to get ourselves in the right state of being so that we can relate in the correct way to the screens. You can always ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now serving me in the markets when you're in the trade? Continuing to hold, and usually when you start to break rules, it's because you don't assume your risk. You have to fully assume the risk ahead of time, which means you have to get good trade location. Right? We know my rule is the back of the zone. If you guys actually waited for the back of the zone, you got excellent trade location. I didn't. I just jumped in. So that's that. Now, like I said, why did I not patiently wait for that? Because I was, in that excited state. HA didn't want to miss it. Now, I waited for some bottom building. Like the last time it did hit there, the last couple times it did have a pretty quick move. So that might have been in my mind. But remember, this is discretionary. The way that it came down was an inverse V, right? Just as we don't fade Vs, right? We don't really like to long pyramids, if you will. Now, there was some of that overshoot that we talked about. It wasn't like right at the hinge. Now, granted, that's just an intraday thing. Zooming out, intermediate and big picture are aligned bullish, so touching that moving average could potentially attract buyers, right? Because of the bullish larger time frame bias. Now, just going back to the performance routine, right? The first thing you want to do in this routine when you wake up, before you look at the screens, is just to go into a mindfulness breath meditation where essentially you are only going to be focusing on your samurai breath, right? Your mind is going to wander, right? There's going to be all kinds of things. There's no judgment in where it goes. You just have to focus on your breath. That's it. When your mind wanders, so you're kind of just observing your state. Where are you? Right? So what is that samurai breath doing? It is regulating your autonomic nervous system, which is how you perceive reality in a balanced, holistic state. Since this trading methodology is a holistic methodology, you need to be in a holistic, mindful state of being. And that doesn't mean that you obviously always have to wake up in that positive state where you're above a boredom level. Who does that? Sometimes you dread going to the market and you're afraid. You might have had a couple winners and just don't want to go on a Monday. Could be that. Could be a lot of different things. Maybe you just had a losing streak and now you don't want to see the potentiality for another winner because you can't, it's hard for a human being individually to think of long-term probabilities. So going to that samurai breath is the first step, right? It's the mindful meditation. So let's do it together. No more waxing and waning. Right? You breathe in for 10 seconds, or as best you can, and then you breathe out for 10 seconds. And you can actually do this through your nose, and then out through your mouth. You inhale through your nose and you exhale out of the mouth in order to generate that samurai breath, which is a state of being that is ideal for trading because you are both alert and relaxed. It's not enough just to be alert. How many cocaine addicted traders take 10, 20, 30 trades a day? They are alert, no doubt about it. Cocaine is a alerting drug. But it's a high beta frequency inducing body state. And unless you have a mindful, receptive, alert state with the breath of the relaxation, you may not be able to discretionary trade my methodology, despite me writing it out over and over and over again, because following the rules and knowing the rules are two different things. I'll say that again. Following the rules and knowing the rules are two different things. Yeti, you talk a big bite, but you're 20 pounds, so you're getting picked up now, young man. Oh, Yeti, little Yeti just slipped out. Yeti, come here. He's okay, come here, buddy. You're a little slippy. Come here, little Yeti. So Yeti's their half brother. We're just gonna jump out of the alert state here. Go right into a mindful state. Come here. Come here. We'll do a part 2, guys, okay? We'll do a part 2.